right, everyone. This is Judge Walker here that's presiding over the last hearing of the day involving Christopher Jose Adams. He is present along with his attorney appointed to represent him at the preliminary hearing, Mr. Lewis, as well as the officer involved in the case, Officer Price. We have the District Attorney, Mr. Huslak, prepared to go forward with the state's case. Mr. Adams, let me just state to you that we're at the preliminary hearing stage. The court has considered your request to represent yourself at this stage. I'm not going to allow that. Allow Mr. Lewis to represent you at this stage. If there is some need for different representation after we have this hearing, you certainly did not forego that route. You can ask for that after this hearing is over if there's still a problem in your mind that you need some representation other than Mr. Lewis. But to make sure that we can get the case heard today and that your rights are properly protected, I have Mr. Lewis here, and at the order of the court, he is going to represent you at this hearing. Now, so with that said, sir, you don't have to raise your right hand yet. If you have a comment on that, you'll have to unmute and I could hear you real quickly. If not, I'm going to let the state present its case first, and then we'll go from there.
Mr. Adams, wish to say anything before we proceed?
I just asked him to have him unmute so we can hear him.
Okay.
Can someone unmute him at the jail? Okay. All right, Mr. Adams, I can hear you now.
I didn't quite catch all of that. I had told Judge Head I didn't want Mr. Lewis to represent me. I've only talked to him 20 minutes and he was not very helpful. He was making fun of the ejaculate that I had earlier reported to the officer.
Yes.
He told me you guys did not DNA testing, and I believe that would be lying under oath because Officer Smith said non-disclosure, and that to me would be further discrimination as well. That means you disclosed it to somebody else, but not me.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Adams, just so we're clear that the court finds it's in your best interest to be represented. Mr. Lewis, it comes from a list of attorneys that have been approved by the court to represent people at preliminary hearing. He's more than qualified to represent you at the hearing. If y'all have a disagreement or something that cannot be worked out, you could ask for a new attorney in the future. You have not given up on that right. But for this hearing now, so that we can hear what's going on, he is going to represent you at this point in time.
So when I had requested for different counsel, it was not granted. So how am I to trust when you already had the officer say you guys don't DNA test and she lied under oath? How am I to trust you further?
I'm not asking you to trust me because I don't need your trust to go forward. So we're going to go forward and you're going to listen. And at the end of this hearing, again, if there's a need for you to get another attorney, that will be addressed at another time. But we're going forward now with this particular hearing, so there's an opportunity to understand what's going on fully, other than just hearing you talk to me. All right, I'll turn it over to you, to the prosecutor, and you may begin your case. Mr. Adams can go back on mute.
Judge, this is the state of Georgia versus Christopher Jose Adams. We are here for a preliminary hearing on 3 warrants, 21W08482, 21W08483, and 21W08484. The state's witness is Officer Price. Officer Price, can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide this court is the truth, the whole truth, and anything but the truth?
I swear.
Thank you. You can put your hand down now. And can you state your name for the record?
Julie Price,
And where are you employed?
Gwinnett County Police Department.
And are you a post-certified peace officer?
I am.
And are you familiar with the defendant, Christopher Jose Adams?
I am.
And are you the law enforcement officer that sought those 3 warrants that I read out a moment ago?
Correct.
Can you please describe for us the facts and circumstances that led to you seeking those warrants?
I can. So on June 12th of this year, 2021, I was dispatched to 5234 Cornish Drive in Stone Mountain, which is in Gwinnett County, based on some suspicious activity. I handled this over the phone. I spoke at first with Alina Adams. She told me that her son, Christopher Adams, had purchased a taco from Taco Bell, and it had semen on said taco, and he wanted an officer to see it. I started asking for certain details. Lena expressed concern that Chris had no voice, which is why she was calling. After eating the Crunchwrap, I started asking more questions. Lena did not know the answers, so she handed the phone over to Chris. Chris came to the phone, stated he was worried about catching diseases, and he wanted the person charged. At the time, I agreed and told him that I was going to do a report and follow up. Chris was not satisfied with just a report and having to upload the photos. He wanted the sample tested for DNA, as he's taken supposedly forensic courses and seen forensic shows. He said he knew it could be done. He was worried because he bit into the Crunchwrap and got it into his mouth. He stated that semen contains 27 diseases. I told him that he needed to be evaluated by a doctor and to speak with the health department, which he then stated they were giving him the runaround. He also stated that Taco Bell, McDonald's, and the health department, along with other businesses, were part of a cult or a global conspiracy. He also mentioned the Black Illuminati, stating that they were after him at the businesses he frequented. Chris became aggressive. He started raising his voice, changing his tone. His pitch went high. I told him I was not going to collect the sample for DNA testing and to take a photo of it and upload that photo to evidence.com. He stated nothing on the photo would be seen because it was white cum on a white napkin, and that the only thing that there was going to be a black pubic hair. He became agitated. He started calling me words with, I apologize, but he started calling me a nigger, and that this was all in conspiracy, part of the Black Illuminati, and he just kept repeating that over and over. You could hear a male voice in the background along with Nina's voice telling him to calm down and to not speak with the officer like that. He did not listen. He continued to scream, and then he got really loud, let out a high-pitched scream, and the line disconnected. After a couple minutes after the disconnection, Lena recontacted and stated that Chris had assaulted her by putting the semen in her face. The call taker stated that she could hear in the background a male voice stating, "No, I didn't." The line disconnected, and then 4 minutes later, Lena called back, stating that her son put a gun to her head and that they were leaving in a white Honda Odyssey. She hung up. Then her husband called back, she called back stating that her and her husband were headed to the hospital for injuries and that her son had ripped open the father's stitches and hit the father in the head with the gun. His father, Christopher Ashley Adams, said that his son had the finger on the trigger when the gun was to the mom's head, and that they would recontact when they got to the hospital, which they did. I met them up at Eastside Medical, and Christopher stated that his son smashed the napkin with semen into his mom Lena's face, then grabbed a gun, put it to the left side of her temple with his finger on the trigger. I did notice that she had a red circle on the left side of her temple, and it appeared to be recent because it was raised compared to the skin, and it was red. I could not see any other parts of her face as she was wearing a mask. And then his father stated that he tried to intervene. He He pulled the gun so that it wasn't facing in any kind of direction. It was in a safe direction. And he tried to fight off his son, which then he was hit in the head. And he had a previous biopsy done on his hand, and his son had ripped those stitches open. I did notice on Christopher's head on the left side that there was a big red mark. He also had blood down his shirt, on his hand, and also in his ear. It was unclear as if the blood from his ear was from being hit in the head, or if it was from him dripping into it from his hand. I obtained a written statement from Lena. Christopher refused the written statement because of his hand, so I had him repeat everything back into my body camera. I asked him where Christopher was now. They stated that he was going to be at 3913 Maplewood Drive in Decatur, and that he still had the gun on him. It was a black gun. They were unsure if it was a 9mm or a .40 caliber. And then they advised me that Chris was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And at the time he got the guns, he was stable. However, now he wasn't considered stable. And that he ran away to that Decatur house. He became agitated. And in the video, you could see Chris pacing back and forth. But did not see the gun at that time. There was a prior event with law enforcement, according to Christopher, the dad, that Chris had a cop following him, and he stated to his dad that if the cop pulled him over, he was going to shoot him. So I made sure to relay that later on. I asked about the living situation. They stated that they lived together, however, on 2 separate floors. And that's when I went and obtained the warrants for 2 for ag assault, 1 on mom, 1 on dad, and then the battery for dad ripping open dad's stitches. I went out with Night Cycle, and after pulling a driver's license photo and a criminal history on Chris, and we went to the house after getting a phone call from the neighbors stating that Chris was at the home that they all shared. And that's when we called Chris on the phone. He came out with his hands up. However, we did recover a black .40 caliber and 3 magazines off of Chris, along with other miscellaneous items.
When you say a black .40 caliber, are you referring to a pistol?
Correct.
And where was that? Where did you recover it from?
His waistband.
You said his waistband?
Correct.
Thank you. Are you able to identify Christopher Jose Adams on any of the screens you can see right now?
Yes, sir. He's in the jail courts. He's wearing a green jumpsuit with a beard.
Thank you. And did this incident, everything you described, occur in Gwinnett County?
Correct.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions for you.
All right, Mr. Lewis?
I was surprised. Did the father indicate to you that my client never pointed a gun at him?
He said he was wrestling with him on the ground. However, he was hit in the head with the gun.
Hit in the head with the gun, okay. And you had a chance to speak to the father face to face, is that right?
Both mom and dad, correct.
All right, good. So you saw the injuries that were on the dad?
And took photos of both.
Okay. You indicated that there was video of my client pacing. Pacing where? At the house?
It was at the home in Decatur, which I believe was a relative, that they had access to the cameras.
Okay, it's like a ring, outdoor or indoor?
It was indoor. It was in, it looked like, it appeared to be in a living room.
Okay, so it's like something ring-like that had indoor surveillance where you saw my client pacing?
Correct.
Was there any volume so that you could hear what he was saying, if anything?
No, not that I could hear.
Okay.
I don't know if they just didn't have it turned up or if there wasn't any volume. I don't know.
Okay, and was it the mother, Lena Adams, or the dad, Christopher Adams, that indicated that he might have a mental health problem?
I'm unsure as into which one told me.
That's fine. Somebody told you he was schizophrenic or paranoid schizophrenic?
Schizophrenic.
Schizophrenic, and did they indicate when he had been diagnosed?
When?
When?
No, I did not.
Did you get any sense of how long he had been on meds? I thought you said that he had been on meds. Is that what they told you?
That's what they told me when I asked them how he obtained guns and why he got guns. They said that he was on meds, he was stable at the time.
Okay, and were you left with the impression that he had been diagnosed more than a year ago or less than a year ago?
It appeared to me more than a year.
More than a year. They shared the same house, were living on different floors. Did they indicate what type of work he did, if any?
They did not.
All right, no further questions. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Huslack, anything further of this officer?
No, sir, and no additional witnesses either.
All right, does defense, Mr. Lewis, have any witnesses at this time?
Judge, I don't have any evidence, I don't have any argument. I'm gonna end up filing a bond motion, on my client's behalf tomorrow in Superior Court, so the Superior Court judge will be able to address bond representation and anything else he may want to address with the judge in the next 2 weeks.
Sounds good. Thank you, Officer Price. You're excused.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
I find there's enough to bind this over to the next level in Mr. Adams' case, so I will bind it over for final disposition in Superior Court, all 3 warrants listed in his case. That is all we can do today, so I'm going to let Mr. Adams go back with the deputy. As already has been stated on the record, an immediate bond motion will be filed for him, and that will be dealt with the Superior Court judge.
Thank you, Judge.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.